And how's it been in the camp off the back of these 2 defeats? Have you had some honest conversations?
Yeah, we're probably. I was saying to someone earlier, like when you go on a win, when you go on a run where you're winning a lot, things are going well. You sometimes need a bit of a realization, and probably the last 2 weeks have come down quite hard on us as a group. Some boys losing their first game for England, like that's the kind of run we've been on. It's a massive realization for us that like sometimes you do lose, you take your eye off the ball a little bit in terms of like some stuff around your habits, your day-to-day work. Because at the end of the day, the result comes from our preparation. We've just felt like we've sometimes just got to hone in a little bit more on our training, on our preparation, and I feel like we've done that over the last probably 2 weeks. We trained at Allianz on Thursday, and it was probably one of the best sessions I've been involved in my time with this squad. How focused everyone was, how intentful everyone was. Yeah, it was played at such an intensity that it was like, wow, this team's going to really go places. And sometimes you only get those lessons off the back of losses. So we've tried to spin it that way, and I'm sure everyone's raring to go for Saturday.
Is that usual? Is that normal? Do you think you win 12 in a row? There's going to be a bit of complacency coming?
I don't know, complacency is the word. I think it's just natural habits in terms of like you think you get into a rhythm of winning. You do this, you do that, and actually sometimes you need to come back to base and start again. And that's what we've been speaking about. Is like, I don't want to say spin it positively because that's not fair. It hasn't been positive. It's been harsh and it's been realistic, and it's been where we're at. But we've also tried to say, well, the only way is up now. Like we've lost 2 games on the bounce. That hasn't happened in a long time, and we need to do something about it. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting going.
Such is the way modern sport that, despite the 12 wins, 2 big defeats, and already question marks come on Steve Borthwick and the coaching. Do you guys feel you owe him a performance on the weekend?
Well, not just Steve, who, by the way, has been brilliant throughout the campaign, throughout the whole time he's been with the squad, but just the supporters, the fans, the people around the RFU, because yeah, we do feel like we've let people down. We, in terms of our performances, haven't been where we want them to be. Certainly, the reaction after the Scotland game wasn't what we wanted. So yeah, we feel like we're due a performance. We feel like we're due getting back to what makes England such a hard team to play against, such an enjoyable team to play for. And we've got to go and do that on Saturday. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Italy and Rome, with the narrative that is building, how do you ensure that pressure doesn't get to you and doesn't suffocate you guys?
Well, firstly, we've been speaking about what to expect. Italy, for a while now, have no longer been the team that you can take for granted. We know the quality that they have now in terms of like there's people in their team that have got world-class talent, would be in a conversation about being in the world's best. So we have to have the respect there, but we also know that if we play our best stuff, we're going to be very hard to beat. We've got some good memories playing there, but we've spoken to the boys about what to expect really, because there's going to be a lot of emotion. They're actually in a great moment. We're obviously a bit of a wounded animal, so there's a fair bit going on with the game, but we're really looking forward to it.
And just aside from the rugby stuff, Matt Weston's been in the camp
today.
What have you gauged from him? I can't see too many parallels between the 2 sports.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny you say that really, because firstly, he grew up playing for my home club. He's a rugby fan. Played for Sevenoaks. We don't actually think we crossed over, but we played with like the same mates and stuff, which is a small world. He talked a lot about his 4-year journey from Beijing 4 years ago to go into Milan and dealing with the disappointment of what he put out in Beijing to what he went and achieved in Milan. So talking about the parallels of that and preparation, planning, how success isn't just one straight upward curve. He dealt with some pretty tough lessons over the last 4 years to put him in great stead for what is probably the most important thing, which is the Olympics. And yeah, that's what resonated with us was actually, you're going to have setbacks in your 4-year cycles going to a World Cup. You're going to have moments where you go, that was an amazing lesson for us at the time, and looking back on it, it wasn't enjoyable, but we needed it. That's how we're spinning a little bit of where we're at the moment. Like we've had some amazing times in the shirt. Last couple of weeks have been some tough times, but we can't lose focus. We can't lose hope in terms of where this team is going, and it's going somewhere great.
and 50 caps for you on the weekend. How special is that?
Yeah, it'll be amazing. We were saying earlier that it's been an interesting journey, but like almost over the last 3 or 4 years, it's flown by. It'll be probably something I won't realise until after the campaign, but really looking forward to hopefully making it a real special day for my parents who'll be coming out. And yeah, hopefully pair it up with a win, which is always nice. So that's the goal.
Because there was a stage at the start of your career, wasn't there, where you couldn't get a start and you're having to work to get in under Eddie Jones, and you had to battle, didn't you?
Yeah, and like I said, like success and your career never goes like in one straight upward curve. Those lessons I learned in that spell under Eddie and sort of being not selected for a while stood me in unbelievable stead going into the World Cup in 2023, and my appreciation playing for England has never been higher than it is now, because of those lessons that I had over the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing day, and yeah, it's sort of, if we can win, it will be even more special. So that's the goal.
Like, the mood's been, obviously, look, you come into camp feeling a little bit somber. You are licking your wounds a little bit. But what I've been really pleased with is the reaction, is the proactive nature of how we've gone about things, and I think we've delivered some really good messages around the sort of team we want to be, get clarity around what wasn't right over the last couple of weeks, and we are very clear that it has been poor over the last couple of weeks, but we've got good clarity around why, and we've got good clarity around what we then need to do to make sure it looks different moving forward.
When you go on 12 wins in a row, do you sometimes maybe get a bit comfortable?
I don't necessarily think so, actually. I don't think comfortable is the right word, because we train very hard, we work very hard. I think you look at the 2 games in isolation, I think they're probably 2 different performances. There are some trends between the 2 that we need to address, but there's just a couple of areas that have let us down, and turning the ball over too much for one is certainly something that we need to address, and putting teams under a bit more pressure. We've got good clarity around how we'll do that against Italy this weekend, and what it's about now is just going and putting it on the field.
Such is the nature of the England rugby team and the expectation. 12 wins, 2 defeats, and suddenly everyone's once again questioning the coaching staff. Do you owe them a big performance as well?
We owe them a big performance. We owe ourselves a big performance. We owe the England fans a big performance. I know historically, and I'm sure it'll be the same, we get a lot of travelling fans over to Rome, and we owe it to absolutely everyone to show the sort of team that we want to be, and I'm very confident we'll do that.
Is defeat there simply unthinkable?
Yeah, of course it is. We've got a great record against Italy, whilst at the same time, they are a brilliant team. This is the toughest test that any England team has ever had against Italy, because of the team that they now are, because of how well they play in Rome, and it's going to be a tough test for us. I am very confident that we are going to have a brilliant week's preparation, and you'll see a different intensity to the way that we play the game on Saturday.
To what extent have you had to go back to the drawing board and change the plan as well?
It's not necessarily about changing the plan, it's about reinforcing what we have done. There have been some positives over the last couple of weeks. It's quite hard to think about and reflect on, given the results, but there have been some really positive signs in certain areas of the game. So it's reflecting on those, it's understanding where we've let ourselves down. So I don't think necessarily we're changing the game plan as a whole, but we are reinforcing certain things, and we're setting expectations for others.
Italy in Rome is always, it's a tough place to go, but you've got the narrative, the pressure of the 2 defeats. How do you make sure, as one of the more experienced guys, that doesn't maybe suffocate some of the less experienced players?
Yeah, I think probably, my lesson, what I've learned over a long period, being lucky enough to be a part of this team, is that when the pressure comes on, you've got 2 options. You can, it's fight or flight. You can get closer together and allow you to, really pull together and find solutions together and go after it together, or you can isolate yourself and just look after yourself. And what I've been really encouraged by is that the collective buy-in from 36 players and the rest of the management team, that everyone wants to pull in together, get tighter and get after it together. Like, of course there's pressure on us. There's pressure on us whether we had won the last 2 games or not. So, the most together, complete performance that we can put out there on the field, and everyone has a role to play in that, and I'm excited about what we're going to go out there and put on the field.
And Matt Weston, the British skeleton gold medalist, has been in camp. What's he imparted?
It was really interesting to hear his journey into where he needed to be. It was fascinating to hear about his preparation. It was fascinating to hear about the expectation of being a favourite. Yeah, he's obviously done incredible things over the last couple of weeks and over the last few years, really, in skeleton. And to have someone like him is just, yeah, it's brilliant to hear from.
And handling skills?
Apparently, he was a useful player. I didn't see him on the field, but apparently, and like, you know, he grew up local to Ben and was in and around the Sarries Academy, so he was obviously useful enough. He's got some power and some pace, so he'll have a role somewhere.